My name's Andrew. I'm 34, single, and I work in IT, a job that involves more keyboards than people. And honestly, I prefer it that way. But this story, it changed something in me. It started 3 months ago when I moved into a new apartment. After a long and messy breakup, I decided to leave my old life behind and relocate from Boston to Philadelphia. Found a decent one-bedroom place in an old brick building from the 1920s, the kind of place that creaks when the wind blows, with floorboards that groan like they've seen things. It had character. I needed something with character. The previous tenant had left in a hurry. The landlord told me, didn't give notice, just vanished. That should have been a red flag, but I just saw it as a win. I got the apartment cheap. It was during my second week there that I first noticed the floorboard. It was a Tuesday night. I had just come back from the store, dropped a bottle of hot sauce in the kitchen, and as I bent down to pick it up, I noticed something odd about one of the wooden boards by the pantry. It looked off, a little lifted, like it wasn't nailed down properly. I tapped it, hollow. Naturally, curiosity got the better of me. I fetched a flathead screwdriver and pried the board loose. Underneath, I found a narrow space, maybe 3 inches deep, and inside, a small, dusty envelope and an old brass key. The envelope had a name on it, Lisa. Just that. No last name. No return address. I opened it. Inside was a single Polaroid photo. It showed a girl, maybe in her 20s, smiling on what looked like a rooftop. There was a skyline behind her, probably Philadelphia. On the back, in shaky handwriting, find the room. He kept everything. That's when the hairs on my arm stood up. I examined the key. It was old, not a modern apartment key. More like something you'd see in an old movie, heavy with an ornate head, the kind of thing you'd use on a big wooden door. But what room? What door? The next few days, I couldn't stop thinking about it. I even asked the landlord casually if the building had any storage areas or old rooms. He just shrugged and said there were old boiler rooms and maintenance areas in the basement that were closed off years ago. That was all I needed to hear. That Friday night, I went exploring. The basement was dark and smelled like rust and wet concrete. I brought a flashlight and the key, figuring I'd try every old door I could find. Most were padlocked or welded shut. But then, at the far end, behind some broken shelving and a mountain of old paint cans, I found a small metal door that looked like it hadn't been opened in decades. There was a keyhole. The key fit. The lock clicked, and the door creaked open with a sound that felt like it echoed through time itself. I shone my flashlight inside and felt my breath catch. It was a room, a secret room, and it had been lived in. There was a small mattress on the floor, yellowed with age, a rusted metal chair, shelves filled with books, photographs, old cassettes. Everything was covered in a thick layer of dust, but nothing was damaged. It was like someone had just left it all behind. I walked in slowly, heart pounding. On the far wall, someone had scribbled dozens of names in black marker. Men's names, women's names. Some were crossed out, some had dates next to them, and in the center, circled over and over again, was one word: Lisa. My flashlight flickered. I don't believe in ghosts, never did, but there was something about that room. It felt heavy, like the air was thicker inside, like it didn't want me there. I backed out slowly and closed the door, locked it, went back upstairs, sat on my bed for hours staring at that Polaroid. What the hell had I found? I didn't sleep that night. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, Polaroid on the nightstand. The image of that hidden room burned into my brain. I tried telling myself it was just an old storage space, maybe a squatter once lived there, but something deeper inside me knew better. The next morning, I went back. I told myself I just wanted to photograph everything, document it. Maybe I'd find someone who knew more about Lisa, or about the person who had stayed there. But really, I needed answers. That room had questions no one else seemed to ask. I brought gloves, a notepad, and my phone for pictures. The key turned more easily this time, and I pushed open the door. It was just as I'd left it, cold, silent, still. I started with the bookshelf. There were notebooks, dozens of them, some with dates going back over 20 years, all written by hand. The first few pages were dull, lists of groceries, sketches, ramblings. But then, in one journal dated 2003, I found something chilling. Lisa came again. She doesn't know I saw her, but I always do. Another entry. I followed her to her apartment. She lives above the bodega now. 4B. She dyed her hair. Thinks I won't notice. And then, she lied to me. She said she never saw him again, but I saw them together. I saw everything. Page after page. Obsession, paranoia, madness. This wasn't just someone missing Lisa. This was someone watching her, stalking her, hiding in the shadows of her life. I felt sick. I looked around the room again, the old mattress, the scratched chair, the countless photos pinned to the wall, not just of Lisa, but of dozens of women, most of them candid shots, walking to work, eating lunch, laughing with friends, all taken without them knowing. And then I noticed something new, a box, metal, locked with a latch but not very secure. I pried it open. Inside were more photos, VHS tapes, notes, but what made me freeze was what lay at the very bottom. A wallet. It was worn and cracked, but inside was a Massachusetts driver's license, the same state I had moved from. The name? Andrew Caldwell. My name. But it wasn't my face. The photo was of a man maybe 10 years older than me, different eye color, thinner, but it was my name. I backed away from the box, panic rising. What the hell was this? That night, I couldn't focus. I kept pacing around my apartment, trying to understand what I had stumbled into. Whoever this man was, he had my name, and he had lived in that room. Was he the previous tenant? I needed answers. I messaged the landlord again, asking for info about the guy who lived here before me. He told me he'd check and get back to me. Meanwhile, I did something I hadn't done since I moved in. I looked at the walls. Really looked at them. I'd always thought the building was old and noisy, but that night, I pressed my ear to the far wall of my living room. I heard a faint scratching sound. I froze. It wasn't the pipes. It wasn't rats. It was rhythmic, like fingernails, like someone tapping wood, very slowly. I slammed the light switch. Silence. I didn't sleep. Again. The next day, the landlord called me back. Hey, Andrew. So I looked into the previous tenant. His name was also Andrew Caldwell. Weird coincidence. Huh? What happened to him? I asked. Well, that's the thing. He just disappeared. About 4 months ago. Left everything behind. Police said he just walked out one day and never came back. Do you have a photo of him? Nah, but I think he had a brother or cousin come by after. Also named Andrew, I think.